Thank you, Your Honor, for giving me the opportunity of defending my husband, basically. My name is Katarina Majdanjuk-Philip. I'm a neurologist. I'm a citizen of this country. And all over the report, my name is there. And basically, nobody wants to hear what I had to say. Excuse my emotions and my accent. But this case has been taking a toll on our mental health. So I come in front of you basically just like Esther went in front of King Ahasuerus. I come in front of you as an authority, and I hope that you will hear what I have to say. And I want justice. I want this case to be dismissed. Christian is not only my husband. He's not only the love of my life, father of my children. He's my best friend. He's my support. He's the person I find comfort and understanding. He has been by my side for the past 12 years since we met. He has been by my side through a residency, a fellowship, my board exam, through being an attending, through working in the system. He has been there and supported me. He wiped my tears, and he has been there for all my historical moments, and I can have a lot of those. He's one of the smartest people, one of the kindest people I have met. He's a magna cum laude student. He's a med school graduate, just like I am. He has a big heart. He's honest and empathic. He's always there for anyone that needs help. He's not a criminal, and I will not allow anyone to treat him like this. What has happened 8 months ago happened in the midst of sleep deprivation for more than 4 weeks. Do you know what led to this? It was basically his big heart. He came up with the idea of buying a house for my parents. They live in an apartment in a cage, how he calls it. My mom has metastatic cancer, and he wanted her to have a better quality of life. He wanted her to be able to spend time in the garden and breathe fresh air. It was his idea. That's his big heart. What has happened after? It was a lot of stress brought by trying to remodel the house in less than a month and a half and dealing with his job. That brought a lot of stress and led to insomnia. He was sleeping 1 to 2 hours, maximum 3 hours per night for more than 4 weeks. Do you know what sleep deprivation does to your brain? Are people of Michigan aware what happens with the chemistry of the brain if a person is sleep deprived for a prolonged period of time? It leads to changes in behavior. I myself was super stressed about all this house remodeling. I was also in a period of fasting, and I was very irritable. As a neurologist, I should have known better and recognized the problem. Unfortunately, I was not able to think clearly at that time myself due to poor quality of sleep and stress. This state led to that event, and now 8 months later, we are still dealing with these consequences. Let me ask you something, people of Michigan, and especially the prosecutor's box. Do you have a perfect family? All you that are married, you have not had any disputes in your family?
Ma'am,
I know.
ma'am, I'm just going to caution you one thing. Address the court. I don't want you addressing any of the parties that are in the court.
I apologize, Your Honor. But there is no perfect family. We have to be honest. Everybody has discussions in their family. And if there is somebody that thinks you are in some sort of danger because that's what they think, and call the police, you're basically done. When the police showed up at our door, I just came from shopping. If I thought I was in danger, I would have stopped at the police station and I would have called for help if that was the case. And when the police came to our house, one of them told me, "Ma'am, this is not enough for us to arrest him." Well, I didn't want him to be arrested. What I wanted, and our understanding, was to take him to ER. He needed that kind of help. He needed to sleep. That's what I requested. You know, the ambulance was there at the scene, and the lady, the EMT, came and told me, "We'll let police take him to ER so you don't have to pay a bill." How I wish I would have paid that bill and not be here today. Little did I know what that meant. And I want you to be aware that the first thing I did that night and the following day was to look for him in ER. I called U of M ER and St. Joe's ER. he was sleep deprived. And I have articles in my possessions that support that sleep deprivation can cause behavioral changes. And the treatment is just sleep. The treatment he got was arrest, 7 weeks of jail and 8 months of hell now. And my question is, what information was given to the ER provider that led to a misdiagnosis? From my standpoint as a physician, the information I have provided to the police officer would have been enough for an admission. And now he's also being accused of R&O. I was there, and I know he was not resisting. He was being pushed back and forth, and the car camera could not catch the scene. We don't have the body cameras available to our review. Everybody goes by the report of the police officers, but nobody listens to me. Nobody listens to what I have to say. I feel like as a citizen of this country, a democratic country, I should have a word to say. Is the word of the police officers the law? That is my question. And again, I'm here to support my husband and stand by his side. I know him, but nobody else does. I know him the best. And if I felt I was in danger, I would have done something. And I was told that a lot of women cover all this domestic violence because they don't have anything to put on the table for their children. This is not our case. This is not our case. I'm a physician. I think I make enough to support my family. And as I said, this was an isolated event, and I don't know why, despite of the fact that I have made it very clear this is not a domestic violence and I have nothing against my husband, the prosecutor's office stays against me and my husband, and they keep accusing him. This man is a med school graduate. He has dreams. Now he's unable to pursue his dreams, to go to med school or a PA school because he has all these accusations on his record. Nobody can get a license in this country, in this state, if they have an unclean record. And I don't know what they have to gain accusing us. This society will lose two smart people, myself and my husband, two smart kids that have dreams, and they want to become doctor and vet. That's what the society will have to lose. Thank you for listening. And again, I apologize if I was a bit more impulsive, but it has been a very difficult period of time for us. And I feel that things happen against my will. And again, I know my husband the best.
I'm not sure what you feel has happened against your will.
I do not have anything against my husband. I'm not accusing him of domestic violence. And
ma'am, at some point you must have been, and at some point he must have agreed with that. And here's the reason why I say that. Back on June 27th of 2023, he pled to a DV and also to an attempted resisting and obstructing. He pled to that.
I understand, Your Honor, but
after being explained all of his rights, he pled to that. And the only reason that we're here right now is because there was a motion to set aside that plea.
Correct.
So, and I get it. I mean, he wants it set aside for the plea, but the plea was set aside for other reasons other than I didn't do it. They was set aside for other reasons other than that. And so, while I hear you, it is a bit difficult for this court to think that nothing happened.
I understand.
He might be the most wonderful person in the world, but he can't come to me and tell me nothing happened, because I heard it from his mouth.
If I may say something, we have to have in mind that a lot of times there can be a language barrier. And
No. Not going to be used. Don't even try it.
Okay.
Don't even try it, because if I had not understood something or had gotten the feeling he didn't understand me, the plea would have stopped. I would have gotten an interpreter. That's the
Okay.
way I always work.
Okay.
So don't even try that game with me.
Okay.
I heard his plea. He might be the most wonderful person in the world. That's fine.
Yes.
But I heard his plea. So it's a bit difficult you coming before me, and I don't know what happened. I can just go on what people are telling me. I heard him. He told me.
Right. He was misadvised at that time.
What?
He was misadvised at that time.
Ma'am, you know what? Sometimes you have to stop making excuses. And at some point, you say, this is what happened. And then you figure out how you're going to deal with it. Everything in this whole circumstance, the reason this case is here, the reason all of these things are happening is not because he didn't do anything. Something. Now, I'm not saying he's guilty of the offenses. I'm not even saying that. But something happened.
I understand, but what I don't understand is why can someone, like the prosecutor's office, continue the accusations despite of me saying I know what happened and I know what led to this, and I'm very aware of that.
Ma'am,
I don't know the law.
I don't, right. But I don't know what individual conversations have occurred in this case. I can tell you, you're not being treated any differently, no better, no worse, as far as I can tell. He's not being treated any better or worse by the prosecutor's office. And ma'am, sometimes maybe there has to be a recognition that, particularly in domestic violence cases, that something happens, something which would constitute a DV. I'm not even saying in this case it did happen, because I'm not making any finding. But things happen. Then, for whatever a couple's reasons are, they attempt to try to reconcile. That may involve forgiveness for something that's occurred. It may involve something else. Whatever the reason is. But as they start to come back together, that doesn't mean something didn't happen.
Right, I understand, and I'm not saying it.
Their job, and I say their, the prosecutor's office, they put forth the interests of the people of the state of Michigan. Not you, but the people of the state of Michigan. Certainly, the interests of the people of the state of Michigan are to try to do our best to make sure that victims of domestic violence don't continue to be victims of domestic violence.
Correct.
And sometimes what that requires is taking a very hard line on what they do with cases, despite what may be a recanting of what was said earlier by the alleged victim. That's their job. Because I'll tell you something, ma'am, I've been sitting up here on the bench for I don't know how long, but many, many years. And I'm going to tell you that if they responded the way you want them to respond, there'd be a lot of primarily women out there who would continue to be victims of domestic violence, if not dead. That's the reality. And that's the reality that they have to deal with.
Right, I do.
So you can be as critical as you want. If you're looking for me to be critical along with you, not going to happen.
No, I'm not looking for anyone to be critical. I'm trying to make people think outside of the box, to try to put the puzzles together, not take a piece of puzzle and say that's the image, because it's not.
That's why we have trials. That's why we have trials to figure out what happened in a particular case. But you want them to make a decision prior to it even getting there, prior to them even hearing any witnesses, prior to them hearing everything. And you want them to make a decision, quite frankly, based upon your excuses for him. Doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And won't.
It's easier to be a doctor than to be a lawyer, I guess.
Well, if you like the demotion of being a doctor, that's fine. Because I prefer being a lawyer. I prefer the system that we have. The system I believe and have faith in works. If everybody does their job, and that includes the prosecutor, that includes defense counsel, that includes me. If everybody does their job, I believe that it works. To my core, I believe that it works. But it doesn't work based upon emotion for one side or the other. It is a very dispassionate system in that respect. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, but that's the way it's supposed to be. Prosecutor's office isn't supposed to be acting out of emotion. Defense counsel is not supposed to be acting out of emotion, and certainly I am not. I get you may want us to, but that's not how it works.
But if somebody represents someone, how come nobody gets in contact with that person? Why that person has to ask to discuss and tell their opinion and not be treated as it should? If my name is all over the report, I would have expected from the very beginning somebody to get in touch with me, somebody like the prosecutor.
And they may, ma'am. I mean, this case has gone, I took a plea, it went to the other judge for sentencing. There's also a request to move to withdraw the plea. It had to come back to me. I looked at that. Counsel for the defendant had to file a couple of briefs to me. I then made my ruling and issued an opinion permitting him to set aside his plea. That's why we're here where we are now.
Right.
All right. At some point, they may or may not reach out to you. That, quite frankly, is not that's not part of my bailiwick and what I have to deal with. What I have to deal with is trying to make sure everybody's here. Case moves along. That's my job. So I don't know. I understand you wanted to address the court, but ma'am, I don't know what you want me to do.
I want this case to be dismissed. The DV.
I don't have the authority to do that. At this stage, I do not have the authority to do it. Or anything else? Thank you. All right.
Yes, Your Honor. I have spoken with APA Hughes, and we're in the process of negotiations. And I have pled to her and addressed the fact that, it's a case by case, and I see clearly vigilantly that the complainant does not want this case to move forward. Either way, we are requesting an adjournment so we can hopefully have a resolution by the next hearing date.
Like I care. No. Yeah. That's gonna work just as well. Yeah. It just,
sorry.
Sometimes it's like running your head into a wall. What? I can't use that? No, I can. Because it really doesn't hurt initially, but then after a while you're dumb. It doesn't matter. And then I've been a lawyer a long time. I know I'm on the record, but when somebody insults my profession and all of my friends that are in my profession, It ain't gonna work.